random walks just keep getting cooler and cooler to me. So I'm going to show you how to make this random walk that changes colors and changes sizes and maybe even changes speeds. Let's get started. I have a starter project going here that includes some variables that I used in my last video. We've got H position, which is the horizontal left and right position, V position, which is the up and down vertical position, and then we've got a couple variables that don't have a value yet, dx meaning the x direction, and dy, the y direction. The first thing I want to do is use these two variables to replace these two fixed numbers. So I'll just put H position here and V position here. And if I spelled it right, same thing. Normally we would fill a color right here by just typing what we wanted. But for this project, I want to use a variable there. So let's grab one more and call it color. And I think I was going to do green there. And now in this fill box, I'm going to take the quotation marks off and erase the color. And just put the variable name color there. That way we can change it later. All right, that looks good. And then I'm also going to take off the outside black line around it. So I'm going to put a no stroke up there. And I need to get my draw loop and stick this guy in there. And I'll probably stick that in there as well. Now I'm wanting to do some randomness, so I'm going to assign a random value. This I did in the other video as well, but in case you haven't seen that one yet, we're going to grab an if else and say, do something else first. We're going to set that dx to a random number between 0 and 1. So it's going to be some decimal, and if that decimal is greater than 0.5, roughly half the time, then we are going to change the value of H position. Plus, you could do a 1 or a 5 or whatever there. We're just going to stick something in there. Okay, so that means it's going to move to the right. Now we're going to do the same thing again, but if this value is less than 0.5, we'll do minus this time. All right, so hopefully when I hit reset and run, this little dude's going to jiggle to the left and right of his current position. Yep, so that's working. If we want to see all of them, we are seeing all of them. If we didn't want to see all of them, we'd stick this background in the loop, and now you can see it sort of wiggling. Okay, so we're going to do that same thing except for dy and the vertical position. So I'm just going to do a little copy and pasting. You may have seen this before. That's okay. Okay, so now he's jiggling in all the dimensions. Let's take the background back out and see if it makes a cool pattern. Yeah, it's starting to get there. So the other thing I did in the last video was sort of bound this so that it can't go off the screen. So we'll do that quickly. We'll say if he goes off the screen in either direction, just put him back in the center. So we'll say if H position is greater than 400, or, and by the way, the or is right here in math, but I'm just typing it in, or if H position is less than 0, put him back in the middle. Do H position and V position. Okay, and then we also want to constrain on the vertical axis, so we'll just copy and paste that and do these guys. I guess you could have a giant if with 4 of these ors in it and just do all these in one. So now it shouldn't be able to go off the screen in any direction. So now let's add speed. This one and this one that have these 5s on the end, that's how fast it's going. So let's just make a variable called speed. Let's set it to 10, and let's take these 5s out and write the word speed in there. So now if I want to change the speed that this thing is going in, I can just change this one number and it will change all 4 directions, how fast he's going. So that's working. Okay. One more thing we want to do is add a size control. So the size of that is bound by these two 50s right here, width and height. Let's just make a variable called size. Maybe we'll set it to 10 to start, and then we can go down to our actual ellipse and just put the word size in both of those. So if we want to play around with him being some different size in a minute, let's try 100. Haven't done one that big. Yeah, so you can just change that one number. That's fun. Okay, so now let's add some color. You'll remember we made a variable for color, and that is going to be handy right now. So every time it goes off the screen horizontally or vertically, when we put it back in the center, let's put it back in a new color. So our variable for color is called color. So right in here, we're just going to say color equals, and now we have a drawing thing. It's this RGB right here. So colors are red, green, and blue. They go from 0 to 255. So we'll put a random number between 0 to 255 in the red spot. And we'll do the same thing for the green and the blue. Okay, and that's a long one that I don't want to type again, so we will also put it here. So now every time we reset, it should be a different color. I think now that we have something cool to look at, it might be worth making the background just white so we can see all the colors popping up. Okay, that's looking pretty cool. The other thing I'd like to do is, since we have a variable controlling size right here, why don't we make it that every time we reset it in the center, we give it a new size. Size equals size plus, I don't know, 5. So they're getting quite a bit bigger every time. Now that could go on forever, right? So if you want to keep it from going on forever, we're already up to size 45 I'm seeing down here. We could just add one more if down here that says if size gets greater than, say, 50, then set it back to 10, size equals 10. So hopefully we'll get some really big circles, and then we'll put some tiny small circles on top of them once we reset the size. Yep, so there they go big and then they go small again. And that should keep happening forever. Okay, so I would call this part 2 of Random Walks. We could call this slightly more advanced version. Have fun.